Now, after you've gone through and made all the corrections and you've really started to finalize the document, everything's looking great, spelling is all perfect, your grammar looks good, you've made any additional corrections that you need, you're about ready to start printing the document. Or perhaps you're exporting it to some other format, such as a PDF. So first, let's take a look at printing options inside of Microsoft Word. And these are really simple, not a whole lot to it, unless you need to make some extreme adjustments to it. But we go up to File. Ever since the 2010 release of Microsoft Word, it was File to Print. And Print is now built into the File tab. If you're on 2007 or earlier, you go to File, or you go to the little Windows button, then you go down to Print. It opened up a second window where you got your print options. Here it's all built into the File tab. So now I'm on Print. I can just go immediately print this, send it off to the printer, as long as I've got a printer chosen, or you can go choose the printer that you need. If you're in a big corporate setting, you may have printers on different floors and different locations that you can send it to. So you click on the drop down, you go print, or you go select your specific printer that you need. Now I get a nice little preview of the document here on the right hand side. And I also get some of the more traditional common settings that I could just make right here, just make changes to. For example, I'm currently looking at this in portrait mode. Maybe I want to change the orientation from portrait to landscape. Give that a click, and right away I get to see what the document looks like right here in the live preview. Let's go ahead and change that back to portrait. I can tell it to collate the pages if that's what's needed. That way I get them all in the proper order. Don't want to have to do that after you print it. That's a big hassle. I can tell it to print it on one side, or perhaps do both sides if your printer can handle that. You got your paper size. Right now I'm looking at letter, traditional size, 8.5 by 11. But I can go to legal. I can go to a number of other options as well. You got your margins. We talked about margins in an earlier video, but you can change the margins right here to these canned preset options. You can also go down to custom margins and make the changes there. Exactly the same as what we saw in the earlier video about manipulating the margins. Let's see what else I got here. 1 page per sheet. That's great, and that's going to be the more traditional, common way for you to do it. But perhaps this document, I want to be able to knock it down to 2 pages per sheet that I print to. It's going to be much smaller text, but you can do it. Perhaps these are going to be notes that you've taken for a meeting that you're now going to be handing out to people as handouts. Well, we can change that here. So you got a few options just right there at your fingertips. Again, this was just File, down to Print, then you've got the more traditional common features and settings right there. And then we just go print it. If you want to get a little more detailed with some of your print options and expose perhaps some more print options for yourself, I can go down to Page Setup. Last little option there. This is going to open up the older window. This has been around ever since I can remember Microsoft Word. You've got your margins where you can set up, your orientation. You can go into your paper settings, as well as a little bit about your layout. But all right there available for you. And again, that's just if you want the more lesser common, lesser used features inside of Word printing, you can get into the page setup. But just right there at your fingertips, you got the more common traditional settings right there. So I suggest take a look at them. Just jump in here. You can tell what you want to print. You can change the orientation, change your margins, or just send it directly to the printer if you're feeling that confident about it. But try it out. Jump in here, take a look at what options you got, take a look at the live preview, and experiment with changing settings to print your document.